Thrive 23, make some noise. I think we can do better than that. I said Thrive 23, make some noise. Man, listen, you can be seated. I'm super excited to be here. I want to know, is anybody expecting, excited, hopeful? Did anybody come for a quantum leap these 2 days? Is there any big energy in the room? Get ready, get ready. I'm excited about these 2 days. They're going to be incredible, fantastic. And when I tell you I'm amped, I am amped. I am amped to be in partnership with one of the best to ever do it. The often imitated, never duplicated, the anointed, ambidextrous, erudite, elocutionary, the one and only Dr. Myron Golden. We're gonna have an incredible time. And is it okay if I just get right to work? I mean, we're playing no games. Myron and I are gonna tag team on you all day for 2 days. We the guest speakers, we the guest psalmists, we the guest musicians. I said, give me none of that. Let's get right to work. And so I wanna start our session off today talking from this subject. I just want to lay some groundwork and lay a foundation in this first session for what we're going to be building on these next 2 days. And I want to set your expectation here, right? Myron and I both would fall in the category of what we would call a transformational speaker. Now, what does that mean? It means that we understand the significance and the importance of inspiration and motivation, that it plays a role in transformation. But inspiration and motivation in and of itself is not transformational. If you're going to experience a transformation, we need more than motivation. We need maps. Motivation is fuel for a car. You cannot move without fuel. But it's possible to ride around, waste time and gas if you don't have a map that actually gives you direction for where you're trying to go. So we hope this is motivational. We hope it's inspirational. But we're about to give you 2 days filled with maps. Because I believe we don't have to make you hungry. You already hungry. I believe we don't have to make you want it. You already want it. I believe we don't have to encourage you to go to the next level. You already on your way. So this is going to be 2 days filled with maps. And so I want to start this first session off. And here's the topic of this first session. It's simply this: it's not optional. It's not optional. Everybody repeat after me. Say, it's not optional. I want to dive into this dialogue today by informing some and reminding others that there are 3 levels you can live your life on. You know them. Only 3 ways you can live your life. You know them: sinking, surviving, or thriving. Level 1 is sinking. Level 2 is surviving. But level 3 is thriving. And I believe I'm talking to some people, even in this introductory session, that's allergic to level 1, irritated with level 2, but obsessed with level 3. Let me hear the level 3 people make some noise. There is a common denominator, a similar trait, a social norm that I see among those who live life on level 3, thriving, doing the best I can in the season I'm in with the resources I have available. There's a common denominator that I see with people who live on level 3 in any area of their life. And the common denominator is this: they have the ability to discern the difference between that which is optional and that which is mandatory. I said a common denominator that I see among those who live life optimizing and maximizing is that people group has discerned the difference between that which is optional and that which is mandatory. Discernment is necessary for distinguishing between the two because your Creator has given you and I something called volition. We know it as free will. So because you have free will, technically everything's optional. Am I making sense? Yeah, because God has given you and I the ability to make choices. He's given us free will, which He will influence but not violate. He will influence our choices, but He will not choose for us. He will instruct us and advise us and make recommendations on what we should choose, but He will not choose for us. Let heaven and earth be a witness. I set before you today 2 paths, 2 options, 2 choices: life and death, blessing and cursing. I won't choose for you, but I'll tell you which one to choose. Choose life. But because you have free will, it's optional. But I've learned that those who live on level 3, those that are uniquely successful, take what most people treat as optional and they treat it like it's mandatory. The reason some people are not reaching their potential is because they treat that which is mandatory like it should be optional. Media, I'm going way off script. Don't even try to follow me today. Please take that down. Don't even try to follow me. I changed all of this on the way to this summit this morning. So I changed all that. It wasn't optional changing. It was mandatory. Those that are uniquely successful take what most people treat as optional and treat it like it's mandatory. So for those that are sinking and surviving, learning is optional. But for those that are thriving, learning is mandatory. And your presence in this place is evidence of this reality. Some people saw this advertisement and treated this event like it was optional. But for you, when you saw this advertisement, there was something on the inside of you that says, I got to get there. If it's a plane, if it's a train, if it's a skateboard, if it's a bicycle, if it's a big wheel, if it's a Greyhound, if it's a megabus, I've got to do whatever I got to do. It's not optional. It's mandatory. For those that are sinking and surviving, investing in themselves is optional. But for those that thrive, it's mandatory. For those that are sinking and surviving, getting in a room with like-minded people is optional. But for those that are thriving, it's mandatory. For those that are sinking and surviving, Daniel's den, BibleU, TCP, I3 are optional. But for those that are thriving, it's mandatory. For those that are sinking and surviving, greatness is an option. But for those of us who are thriving, it's mandatory. Elton Trueblood says this about greatness: intentional mediocrity is sin. I'm going to say it one more time. Elton Trueblood says intentional mediocrity is sin. It is an insult to your Creator. It is a way of saying to Him, you made a poor investment when you invested these gifts, talents, and skills in me. It is saying to the Creator, you could have taken these gifts and talents that you've given me and given them to somebody else who would not have taken them for granted and made full use of them. You see, our purpose is an answer to a problem. And for every purpose, God gives us potential, which is the capacity to fulfill that purpose. But because God is a strategic investor, He gives nothing that He intends for us to waste. So He never gives us anything that He doesn't intend for us to use. So poor stewardship is not just misuse, it's no use. I'm going to say it one more time. It means I'm being a poor steward over my gifts, not just when I misuse them, but when I don't use them. Because our purpose is an answer to a problem. And we've got potential that is the capacity to carry out our God-given purpose. So when I'm not maximizing my potential, I'm not solving the problems I've been created to solve. This family is true greatness, which is not optional. It's mandatory. And when I use this word greatness here, I'm talking about what Stephen Covey calls primary greatness. And many of us, when we hear the word greatness, we think about secondary greatness, which is social recognition for our acquisitions and accomplishments. But Covey argues that only secondary greatness is seen publicly. Primary greatness is seen privately. He argues that primary greatness is in your impact, not in your accomplishments. So the question is not, what did you do? The question is, does it matter? Come on, Thrive 23. I said the question isn't what did we do? The question is, does it matter? Does it make a difference? This is a legacy question, which is, what will I leave the world with when I leave the world? Here's what Pablo Picasso says. He says, the meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. Here's what Mark Twain says. He says, the two most important days in your life are the day you're born and the day you find out why. This is true greatness, which is not optional. It's mandatory. This is the legacy that you and I are supposed to leave, a legacy of greatness. And a legacy can be left in a number of areas, but there are two primary areas that I want to lean into in our time together today, and that is leaving a legacy can manifest itself in leaving legacy with money and leaving a legacy with your mind. And your mind is much more valuable than your money. everything that you've learned, all of the wisdom, all of the expertise, all of the insight, all of the education is valuable because it costs you your most precious commodity. It costs you that which cannot be replaced. It costs you time. It costs you not only time, it costs you years. It not only costs you years, it costs you pain. And pain was the price of the tuition you had to pay to get the education that you experienced. There is some tears that you had to shed to learn some of the lessons that you had to learn. There's some heartbreak that you went through that you refused to allow to break you. You said this can become a loss or this can become a lesson. But a loss is not a loss if you get the lesson. And when you get the lesson, you turn the loss into a blessing. I want to know, am I talking to anybody at Thrive 23 that can look back over your life and say, I paid for this education? I paid for it. I paid for it. It cost me. It cost me not just theoretically, it cost me experientially. It's valuable. It's priceless. Because what you can give people in a day, it would take them a decade to learn it on their own. If I'm making sense, say yes. I said, if I'm making sense, say yes. This is important. Everything you've learned, all that wisdom, all that expertise, all that insight cannot go to the grave with you. It's not optional. It's mandatory. The graveyard is the richest place in the world. Because it is filled with books that were never written, projects that were never started, courses that were never created, teachings that were never communicated. It's not optional. It's mandatory. And my assignment, my burden, my conviction in this introductory session is to prep and prepare your heart for what you're getting ready to receive over the course of these next 2 days. Because you need to know what we're getting ready to share with you is not an accessory, it's a necessity. It's not optional. It's mandatory. That we believe in divine providence. And because of that, your presence in this place or online is not coincidental. It is not accidental. And the timing in which we are doing this is not just coincidental and circumstantial. It is strategic. It is methodical. It is necessary. There's a door of opportunity getting ready to swing open in front of you, and you need to be ready to walk through the door by the time the door opens. You can't be walking through the door and getting ready. Are you getting this? It's not optional, it's mandatory. And so I felt like, Dharius, you could get up and you can talk about tactics and strategies, or you can lay a proper foundation that people get, so that people get a revelation that what they're about to hear in this conference cannot just go in their notes app and not be used again. Y'all aren't talking to me on this side. That what they're going to learn over the course of these 2 days is not optional information. It is mandatory for your assignment. It is essential, and it is something you need, and it is something you need now. You're going to receive prophetic conversations over the course of these next 2 days. Did you hear what I just said? Prophetic conversations. These 2 days are what we call Deuteronomy days. Dharius, what is a Deuteronomy? What is Deuteronomy day? What? Deuteronomy is the second retelling of the law. That's literally what it is. So you got a group of people that come out of Egypt, and they get the initial law in Exodus and in Leviticus. That group is dying off. Another generation's born in the wilderness. The generation that's born in the wilderness is actually going to inherit the promised land. So God tells Moses, when I first gave you the law, there's a generation that wasn't around. They need to hear it, and the older people need to rehear it. So write Deuteronomy and have conversations with them about their past, but also have conversations with them about their future. So I want you to start talking to them about Canaan, even though they're in the wilderness. So they are in poverty, but I want you to tell them when they get houses they didn't build. When they get vineyards they didn't plant. When they get wells they did not dig. You shall remember the Lord your God, for it is he that gave you power to get wealth. Deuteronomy is when God starts having conversations with you about your next level before you get there. It's prophetic conversations. And the reason I know some of you are getting ready to go to another level is because God's been talking to you about stuff that doesn't make sense. He's been talking to you about stuff that you're ashamed to say out loud, because if you said it out loud, people would think you were cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. But I'm telling you, it is a Deuteronomy conversation because he's getting ready to do it. I know this isn't Sunday morning, but it feels like it. I said he's getting ready to do it. Your greatness is not optional. It's mandatory. Unlocking the treasure of wisdom and insight on the inside of you is only optional if you're living for yourself. I'm going to say that one more time. It's only optional if you're living for your self-satisfaction. But I'm telling you, you've got a mandate. Mandatory. You have a mandate. You have a mandate that's mandatory. And I don't know what that mandate is. Y'all ready to turn the corner? I say, I don't know what that mandate is, but I know where that mandate is. I don't know what that mandate is, because it's different for each and every one of us based on our gifts, our talents, our personality traits, our assignment. But I know where the mandate is. And the where is just as important as the what. Because some of us are trying to do the what in the wrong place. I don't know what that mandate is, but I know where that mandate is. Where is it, Dharius? That mandate is in the marketplace. Dharius, when you say marketplace, what do you mean? It's a term that's thrown around frequently, but not often defined. You see, in ancient Greek society, there was a central gathering place where people converged for commerce, social interaction, and public discourse. There wasn't a Publix on this side of town, and then a Kroger on that side of town, and a Saks on this side of town, and a Neiman's on that side of town. If you wanted commerce, everybody went to the same place. It was a centralized location down at the bottom of Mars Hill called the Agora, a marketplace where commerce happened, social interactions happened. And it was, listen to me, it was the place that served as a hub of activity where ideas were exchanged, goods were traded, and matters of public concern were deliberated upon. It is actually where people like Paul spent most of their time. In Acts 17, verse 16, you'll see this. It says, while Paul was waiting for them in Athens, he was greatly distressed to see that the city was full of idols. So he reasoned in the synagogue with both Jews and God-fearing Greeks, as well as in the what? Come on, Thrive. In the what? In the marketplace. When? With those that happen to be there. If you're a world changer, wave at me. Come on. I said, if you're a world changer, wave at me. Okay. You can't change the world if you're not in it. The marketplace is where world change happens because the marketplace is where the world is. Okay. If you're excited about evangelism, 100% of unbelievers, you don't come here on Sunday looking for unbelievers. Come on. 100% of unbelievers are spending their time where? In the marketplace. 99.9% of all believers are spending their time most believers don't work for church. So they may serve on the weekend, but they're spending the majority of their time in the marketplace. And this has been a strategy and a tactic of the enemy to keep us oblivious and ignorant of where we're supposed to be. So we keep slinging our gifts on people that don't need them. We keep playing tennis with our gifts, with each other. It's not optional. It's mandatory. In the New Testament, there are 132 public appearances of Jesus. 122 were in the marketplace. Only 10 in the synagogue. Out of 52 parables that he told, 45 had marketplace content. Now, I don't know if y'all ready for this. Out of 39 divine interventions recorded in Acts, out of 40, divine interventions recorded in Acts, 39, with the exception of Acts 3, when Peter and John are going to prayer, with the exception of Acts 3, 39 of them occurred in the marketplace. I know my tribe. I know Daniel's Den. I serve you each week. I know BibleU. I serve you each week. I know TCP. I serve you each week. I know I3. I serve you. I'm serving I3 18 months. I know what motivates you. I know the unpacking and the reprogramming that needs to happen to get you ready for what you're about to hear. And if I just came up today in this opening session and got right into tactics, I would be throwing seed on soil that hadn't been tilled properly and ready to receive what's getting ready to come your way. If I'm making sense, wave at me. You have a marketplace mandate. Now, what you do is going to be one thing. Who you're supposed to be is quite clear. In the marketplace, you're not one or the other. Let me correct this. You are both a priest and a king. It's not a king or priest. And I know some people teach that. But I'm getting ready to show you, you are a priest and a king. Because some of the philosophy behind that historically has been, if I'm a king, I'm in the marketplace. And if I'm a priest, I'm in ministry. So here's the flaw with that ideology. It reduces the contribution of people in the marketplace to simply being people who go out and create wealth and then take that wealth and give it to the priests who are doing the real work. But remember, 100% of the unbelievers are in the marketplace. The priest's not there. So you're reducing the value of people in the marketplace to simply cash creating machines. And we wonder why business leaders feel lost in religious spaces. No, it's not priest or king. It's priest and king. What do you mean, Dharius? Priest, when we go into the marketplace, our first assignment is our example. Come on. Did you hear what I just said? Our first assignment is our example. D.L. Moody said this: out of 100 men, one will read the Bible. 99 will read you. Priest, it means a priestly presence. I become a host and a carrier of the presence of God. I carry an aura and a vibe that they don't have language for. So they use cultural colloquialisms to describe something that's godly, but they don't have the language to describe it. So they say stuff like, you got good energy. It's something about your vibe. You just vibrating on a higher level. I mean, you just vibrating. They have no idea what you're feeling is not energy. What you're feeling is not vibration. What you're feeling is not a vibe. You're sensing what I'm carrying. I am carrying the presence of God because I'm a missionary in the marketplace. It's something you're supposed to feel when you get around me that gives you a revelation that you're missing something that you can't get with a check. Come on here. I said that there's something they're supposed to sense when they get around you that creates an awareness of a deficit that they didn't know they had. Because when we get around people with affluence and influence, they're not impressed with acquisitions. There's not a car you can show some of us that we like, cute. When you got affluence and influence, you impressed with peace. Come on. You impressed with peace. You impressed with contentment. You impressed with less stress. You impressed with joy. That's what helps people see I'm rich where you're poor. It's a priestly presence that we carry, our example. It's important. It's not optional. It's mandatory. Does that make sense? It becomes, watch this, it's the standard that you live by. And remember, a standard's not a standard unless you're willing to suffer for it. It's, I will not violate this to get business now. That makes me for sale. I'm too expensive to be. I cost too much. Somebody paid the price of their life for me. And you think I'm gonna sell myself for a sale? It means, no, I'm not gonna lie to you to sell to you. If I got to lie to you, you can keep it. Because I want favor more than the sale. Am I making sense here? So we must model the ways of God through how we conduct business and how we conduct ourselves. This is a visible demonstration of who we've been called and created to be. But we're not only priests, because that just makes us good people. Right? Come on, that just makes us good people, right? Right? But if I'm getting surgery, I'm glad he's a good person. Can you do this job though? I'm a good person. Well, let's go out to lunch. Don't cut on me. Are y'all with me? I'm not just a priest, I'm a king. What does it mean? It means I have a domain in the marketplace. I've got a street. Come on, remember the 7 sectors of society, the 7 streets. I've got a street. Daniels Den, I know you know this. Okay, I've got a street. I change the world by changing my world. That's my street. And what I'm supposed to do to dominate my street, I have to dominate. Stay with me. Y'all ready to turn another corner? To dominate a street, I got to dominate a skill set that's necessary for that street. You see me, don't you? To dominate my street, the first thing I got to exercise dominion over is a skill set. There's a skill set I need to master to fulfill my mandate on a street. I'm a king. I've got a domain where I'm supposed to exercise dominion. But I can't exercise dominion in that domain until I dominate a skill set. Until I develop mastery over a skill set. Until I exercise dominion over a skill set. If I'm making sense, say yes. Come on, I said, if I'm making sense, say yes. All right, now, I'm prepared to wrap up. I'm going to try to put us back on schedule here. But there are a number of different skill sets. That we could talk about But what we're about to spend 2 days with you talking about is not a skill set. We're about to spend 2 days talking to you about the skill set. Because all skill sets aren't created equal. There are some skills that are called meta skills. Not secondary skills, but meta skills. What's a meta skill, Dharius? It's a catalytic skill. It's a skill that's a womb that gives birth to things that could not be manifest had it not been for the development of that skill. It's the one thing that can give birth to several things. So instead of chasing the several things, if you can develop this one thing becomes a womb. Stop trying to chase the babies, get a womb. And when you get a womb, the womb gives you the capacity to give birth to the babies. Am I making sense here? It's a meta skill. It's if you've seen a bunch of dominoes that are lined up, and then somebody hits the one domino and all the other dominoes fall, the meta skill is the one domino. Some of us are trying to knock down all the dominoes without mastering the one domino. And if you can master this one domino knocks down all the other dominoes. We need to learn that skill. It is, if somebody asks me, Dharius, when it comes to life, let's not even talk about business. When it comes to life, what is the singular skill that you say, if they fix this thing, it fixes everything? I tell them this one. When it comes to your ability to use business as a vehicle and a delivery system for life change, it is impossible to do it without developing this same skill. So if it will change my life and it will change my business, is this something I need to lean into? Is this something I need to go all in on? Are you ready to go all in on this skill? Come on, are you willing to go all in on this skill? Are you willing to put in the work to go all in on this skill? Do you want to know the one thing that can change everything in your life and in your business? Here it is. It is the skill of content creation. What you say to God, what you say to yourself, and what you say to others dictates and determines the quality of your own life. If I hear how you talk to you, I can tell you how you're doing. I can tell you how you're doing if I can hear you talk to you. The quality of my emotional life is impacted by how I talk to me. The quality of my spiritual life is impacted by how I talk to God. The quality of my relational life is impacted by how I talk to others. This is the one thing that changes everything. You say, Dharius, what does this have to do with business? I sell packages. I sell clothes. I'm not even an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. What does this have to do with business? What does it have to do with the marketplace? Everything. What did the text say in Acts 17? It says, and Paul reasoned with them in the marketplace day by day. Y'all missed it. You missed it. You missed it. You missed it. He reasoned in the synagogue. Y'all see that? Somebody say church. But that's not the only place he, as well as, here's the issue. Benny, they got to get this. Here's the issue. The marketplace is not just a place where goods and services are exchanged. The marketplace is the place where ideas are exchanged. So philosophies about life, philosophies about relationships, philosophies about money, ideologies and philosophy and theology, all of that is being talked about in the marketplace. Am I making sense here? So one of the greatest contributions I can make in the marketplace is not just what I create with my hands, but that which comes from my head. Because what I create with my hands has temporary value, but what I create with my head has long-term impact. There's some education, some experience, some insight, some expertise that I have, that you have, that can change somebody's life. The question is, how do I get it out of my heart and my head into theirs? Some of you have relegated your contribution to simply what you do. And Myron and I's assignment over these next 2 days is to help you expand your impact so that you can make contributions, not just with what you do, but with what you know. In your head is the answers to somebody's issues. In your head is the answer. Are y'all ready for this? In your head is the answer to financial issues that have been plaguing your bloodline for generations. Come on. Yeah. In every family, there arises up the one that shifts. There's a Joseph in every family that manifests themselves and shifts the financial trajectory of that family. I want to know, are you the one? Are you the one? Are you the one? Because God gives creative abundance, not financial abundance. Creative abundance, not financial abundance. What I do with the creative abundance determines whether or not I get financial abundance. That's the seed, creative abundance. When I use the seed, I get the harvest, financial abundance. I know what you do, and that's important. I'm not minimizing that. But God brought you here for these 2 days, not to talk about what you do. Because some of you do what you do so well. You've mastered that skill set. And you can really do it without overly depending on God for it. It's not that you can't do it without God because he gives you the activity of your limbs, the ability. Come on. But you've mastered the skill set. You can wake up out of bed and do it. You don't have to pray to do it. You don't have to fast to do it. Come on. You can just do it. But where you're being stretched is in this area. This is a prophetic word that launched me in the marketplace ministry head first. Prophetic word I received, and I'll share it with you. A guy inboxed me and said to me, Dharius, for the last season of your life, you've been producing a lot of fruit. There are people in different places that have been impacted by what God's doing through you. Lives have been changed. Says, but God's getting ready to pull you in a season where you go from producing fruit to planting trees. It's one thing for you to produce fruit. It's another thing for you to throw your life into other people so that they become trees like you. And at our VIP mixer last night, a woman walked up to me who heard me tell that testimony before. And she said to me, she said, PD, this is what I feel. I know you said you're in a season where you're planting trees. I believe God's called you to plant farms. You do what you do well, but other people need to know how you do it. You have been producing fruit. What we're going to teach you over the next 2 days is how to plant trees. Let me tell y'all don't get this. There are people who are looking for you, but you can't be you for all people. So you got to find other people, throw you in them, so people can get you without getting you. You hear me, Chris? There are people that are looking for a you, but you can't be a you for everybody. But we need yous. People like me need people like you. It's hard for people like me to find people like you. But you can't be a you for everybody. But there's something you know about being you. And if you can take what you know about being you and throw that into other people, then I can get you without having to get you. And other people will pay you to learn how to be you. It's only one of you, but we need more of you. And the only way we're going to get more of you is if you move from producing fruit to planting trees. This is why you're here. This is our assignment. And by the time Myron and I get through with you over these next 2 days, you're going to realize you got something to say and that your tribe is waiting on you to say it. And we're going to teach you how. We'll see you in the next session. Well, listen, thank you for watching Thrive. I want you to make sure you subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss any of our teachings. And remember, you can watch me live at Thrive every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Take care.